Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to day 3 of the Shanghai Bike Show. Honestly, still a bit nuts that I'm here doing this, to be honest with you, like a professional media person. Anyway, right, heading over this morning, loads on the docket to the West Wing. I'm checking out Cybrei, got brand new super lightweight cranksets I want to check out. We've also got Tavelo with some really flash paint jobs on their new frames. We've got CRW, which is a really interesting wheel brand, just incredibly deep wheels, but still incredibly lightweight as well. And I'm also going to see Elitewheels. They've got a kind of sub-brand, I think, called Evolve. They've got a brand new frame I want to check out as well. So yeah, let's get cracking. And yeah, wish me luck, let's do it. Right, just made my way over to the Cybrei booth. Joe speaks very, very highly of these cranksets, so I'm really interested to kind of check them out. Apparently they have a very intense testing regimen as well. I think they use Martin Lass, who's a professional road cyclist. I think he's been clocked at 2,000 watts on his sprints as well. So yeah, let's see what they got on offer. Okay, right, so this is their kind of new flagship kind of item, right? So it is, well, it's the Cybrei crank that you probably are all aware of. It's in a dub standard, but they fitted a carbon axle into the middle. So my first question, which is probably similar to what you're thinking as well, is how is this carbon fiber kind of tube bonded into these aluminium cups, right? So well, it's glued obviously, but apparently there's a mechanical fit in there too. Plus, as I mentioned, they've got Martin Lass, who's a professional cyclist, putting out 2,000 watts testing this thing. So if it stands up to him, I'm pretty sure it's gonna stand up to kind of general use from the average punter as well. If you were to pair up these crank arms here with their lightest carbon chainring, which is this one, the Meta Carbon Aero 2X, so that's a 50-34 at 135 grams, then that's just over, that's 402 grams, I think, for a full 50-34 crankset. Yeah, that's pretty nuts. It's still under development at the moment. I think they're going to release hopefully towards the end of the year. So they've still got Martin Lass putting it through its paces. And pricing wise, again, nothing's kind of solid set in stone, but $500 to $600 for just a crankset, no chain ring. So it's certainly pretty premium stuff, but my word, is that lightweight. So yeah, the Cybrei gear, undoubtedly more premium than the stuff I normally look at. I mean, just for a point of comparison, the Racework carbon crankset that I got off AliExpress, I think that was 130 quid, so 170 bucks, something like that. That was 550 grams, so that one is 150 grams lighter, and the Racework crankset, the carbon cracked on me as well. So yeah, if you want the best and the lightest, Cybrei's the place to go for sure. Okay, very quickly, spotted this brand behind me, Mollison, I think is how you say it. But yeah, just instantly reminded me of the brand Muck-off, like just similar color palette, similar like design language in the products. They do seemingly the same stuff, like all bike cleaning gear, but yeah, certainly reminiscent of Muck-off, which is slightly odd. But again, like I've covered, that's seemingly quite a common theme here at the show. I mean, maybe they came before Muck-off. I have absolutely no idea. And I'm sure they're very good products within their own right. But at least from my perspective and my experience, it feels a bit like when you shop at like Lidl. So rather than having Kit Kat, they have their own branded take a break bars, kind of like dupes that kind of rely on the recognition in the consumer of the original brand to ensure the sale of that kind of dupe or kind of clone. But yeah, I guess an interesting strategy. Right, I've made my way over to the Tavelo booth. They've got their Tavelo Arow, which is their kind of flagship frame on display. I think it was, well, this design was released last year, but they got some flashy new paint jobs on display. Yeah, really, really tasty looking bike. Reminds me of a Specialized SL7, and also, for those that remember, I covered a Trifox X18 frame a couple of years ago. Obviously, this is a completely different league of bike, but I think the shape is quite similar. So it's clearly quite a racy frame. It's got some kind of aero characteristics, relatively wide forks on there and some bladed seat stays. But allegedly it's built for kind of compliance as well. So it's meant to be a sort of all-round bike, a race machine, but also good for long days in the saddle. The paint job is pretty wild, and it's quite a narrow kind of frontal area on the head tube here. They've tapered it in slightly, and they've done well to keep it this narrow, considering everything's internally routed. You can also see they've squared off the front of the steerer tube here to aid in the cables going through. Presumably that means they need a slightly slimmer bearing in there, because if this was kind of fully round, you need a larger bearing in order to get the cables through. So yeah, nice little design features there. And like I said, yeah, quite narrow front end. Now I know Peak Talk had a couple of issues with his Tavelo Arow. I think he had an issue with the compression plug in the headset and also the bottom bracket area as well. Those have since been dealt with by Tavelo months ago. I think they sorted that out very, very soon after he raised them. Now the paint jobs are obviously pretty wild, and so is the weight as well. So for a small, I think we're looking at 710 grams, which is pretty bonkers. I think each size up, that adds an additional 28 grams. So for a large, for someone the likes of me, I think we're looking at about 770 grams. Still pretty impressive. Yeah, good stuff at the Tavelo booth. Right, the Elitewheels booth. Can you see that behind me? Yeah, I've got a bit of a storied history with this company, I suppose. They were the first kind of, well, one of the first carbon wheel sets I looked at on the channel. That video went a bit bonkers, and I've never met any of them in person. So yeah, let's go and see what they got on offer. Right, so I'm here, well, it's at the Elitewheels booth, but they've got their sub-brand Evolve, which is what they're releasing this brand new frame under. I've just got the spiel from the guys, and honestly, the specs are pretty nuts. So headline specs, allegedly it's faster than an SL8 in wind tunnel testing, but that's their own testing, right? So take from that what you will. But the weight of this thing is pretty undeniable. So the one they've got on the stand, this one is 4.925, obviously really tricked out. But the frame itself, for a small, no paint, 640 grams. For a large, so that would fit me, that's less than 700 grams for a large frame. I mean, that's pretty nuts. I mean, those are unpainted weights, right? Different paint finishes are gonna add different weights. The one, well, the finish they've got on the stand, I think Rita, the contact here, she told me that weighs about 40 grams for that paint job. So yeah, pretty reasonable, but obviously dependent on the paint job you choose, it is gonna change the weight, but undeniably, that's a lightweight frame. So they told me the whole ethos for the frame is very similar to stuff we've heard before, right? So yeah, it's aero according to their wind tunnel testing, but also comfortable as well. So yeah, again, it's another kind of all-rounder bike. So yeah, comfortable for long days in the saddle, bit of compliance, but stiff enough for racing. But I mean, interestingly, the down tube, the profile is very round. So allegedly it's fast in the wind tunnel. You'd think they'd want to profile it, but they've got their testing data sheet available. So if you want to dive into that, then go ahead. And one other thing worth mentioning, actually, a BSA bottom bracket. So keeping things nice and standard there, great to see. But the thing you all want to know, right, what's going to be the price of this frame? Well, they're undoubtedly targeting quite a premium market, so $2,500 for the frame set. So that includes the seat post frame and the fork. So yeah, pretty premium stuff, but the specs are very, very impressive. I mean, yeah, less than 700 grams for a large frame. Yeah, I think that's pretty decent, to be honest with you. But yeah, I'm desperate to get my hands on one. Hopefully they'll send me one soon and I can test it out. So yeah, stay tuned, I guess. Right, on the wheel side of things, they've got their kind of Helix range here with this kind of wavy pattern on the rim. They've got their more standard Drive series, so your more standard kind of road wheel set. They've got a nice climbing wheel here, TT, and then also the Velo 6, which I've tested previously. So interestingly, when I reviewed these, I kind of criticized them because the lateral stiffness wasn't particularly impressive in my opinion, but apparently they've taken a year to kind of redesign these. The blades, these kind of 6 blades, they've been, well, the profile's completely changed, and allegedly the lateral stiffness is much, much better than it was. I'm gonna have to get a set kind of in my hands and test it on the bike to make sure, but still, I mean, they're improving, changing the design, so yeah, gotta give them props for that. A couple of other updates to their Drive wheel set, I'll knock through them quickly. So these are the ones that I tried, the Drive 50D. These are the Gen 2, so they've made the internal width, it was 21, now it's 23, so better for a kind of a bigger tire, better for 28C and 30C. Also the spokes are wider, so it's hard to get across on camera, but these are 4.5 millimeters wide, so pretty wide there. Also redesigned hub with a kind of DT style ratchet system, and also this is their kind of shallower. It was the Drive 40, but they've changed it to 36 on the depth, so more of a climbing focus there. So again, they're switching things up, trying to kind of evolve this line of wheels. Now, I did really like the Gen 1 Drive 50D wheel set. I put thousands and thousands of miles on those set of wheels, and they were really nice. So having that additional width on the internal rim, yeah, happy with that. And the weight is apparently absolutely identical. So yeah, for the Drive 50D, that is 1,300 grams for the wheel set. Right, one more quick one to throw in at the end. This is their new climbing wheel set. Not yet released. I think they're looking to sell this at the end of the year. 2,000 bucks for this, but the headline is 990 grams for the pair. I think they're going to call these the Drive Ultra, something like that. But yeah, quite pricey, but very lightweight. So yeah, that was fun at the Elitewheels booth. I think they kind of expected me to stick around a little bit longer, but I was rushing all over the shop, getting footage, speaking to camera and stuff. But yeah, it was nice to meet the whole team. I've been speaking to them for a little while. But yeah, it's clear they're kind of pushing for a more premium market. I think that's a common story with these slightly more mature Chinese brands that have been around a while. Yeah, they really want to compete with the big boys. So interesting to see. I'm sure they'll still do their budget options, but yeah, all the stuff on the stand, really nice gear, but yeah, pretty pricey as you'd expect. Right, again, just kind of came across the stand. Westbiking is a name that I'm kind of very familiar with. Again, their stuff is quite common on AliExpress. I always see like bike accessories, things like pumps, tools, gloves, pedals from Westbiking. But again, similar to some of the other stuff that I've shown, they're a bigger brand than you might initially realize from what they sell on AliExpress. More specifically, one of the bikes just caught my eye. It's nothing particularly crazy. Carbon bike with, I think it's 105 R7000 hydraulic disc. I asked for the retail price. Apparently they sell it in Russia and potentially in the US, I think he mentioned, but that's 2,500 bucks. So relatively good value, I suppose. But yeah, just interesting. Like again, one of those brands that I'm very familiar with, and they just do a lot more stuff than I kind of initially realized. So again, I'm back at the Panda Podium booth. I'm sure you know who these guys are at this point. So again, instead of kind of talking you through Panda Podium, who they are and what they do, I'm gonna show you one of the bikes they bought because honestly, it's really wicked. So it's this pretty tasty looking bike here. It's a titanium gravel bike and the frame is really interesting actually. It's from this manufacturer I honestly wasn't super familiar with, and the brand is Serk, S-E-R-K. So I met the owner of the company, a guy called Shannon, a really interesting guy. He was talking me through how we kind of came up with the bike. He mentioned the titanium industry in China for bikes, it has become a little bit of a race to the bottom in terms of cost for quite a lot of these manufacturers. So allegedly he took his time, really selected the best of the best in terms of suppliers, and yeah, put out this bike. It's an incredibly high quality, internally rooted titanium gravel bike frame, and yeah, you might be able to spot it's got some really nice color matching between these pretty slick looking Panaracer gravel tires and this paint job, which he was particularly proud of actually. It's an incredibly durable ceramic based paint. He said it's similar to Cerakote, if you're familiar, but apparently one of the kind of selling points here is that they can produce this in any color you want. So you can basically come to Serk, give them a colorway, and they can make it for you. So he was really proud of the fact that the turnaround on a custom colorway for a bike like this, apparently it's one of the fastest in the industry. So he quoted me a lead time, well, a turnaround time of 4 weeks. So you can give them a custom color, and yeah, they'll get you that in 4 weeks apparently, which is pretty impressive. From some of the other big manufacturers, you could be waiting months, honestly. The quality of this titanium frame though is just a little bit bonkers. The welds are really lovely, and for the kind of cost of this thing, he quoted me $2,300 for this. So honestly, for a frame of this quality, I don't think that's bad at all, really. So yeah, I mean, 2,300 bucks, it's certainly not cheap, but the quality is pretty much the best of the best. So well, he gave me his kind of client list, the guys that have bought this frame off him, and it's a little bit wild, the kind of caliber of the customers he's got. So yeah, if you do want to check it out, it's available on Panda Podium. And yeah, again, I've got to say thank you to Joe. Like, we've been using this booth as a bit of a home base, both me and Shane here at the show. So it would be wonderful if, yeah, you could take a bit of time, show Joe some love, and yeah, I'll put Panda Podium down in the description. So yeah, massive thanks to Joe, and let's crack on. Right, I've just come across the RockBros stand. This is a brand I'm very familiar with. I see that stuff on AliExpress all the time. Things like, I don't know, saddlebags, tools, stuff of that nature. But they've got literally everything here, from full bikes to cycle kit to tools. So yeah, I'm gonna have a quick look So yeah, this is the stuff I'm more familiar with. Some kind of cycle apparel. You've got some gloves, some shoes, and they've got some saddlebags over there as well. But yeah, let me show you what else they've got, because the range of products is absolutely vast. They're known for decent quality stuff at a really reasonable price as well, so I'm very interested to see what that bike's going to cost. I'll see if I can find out. Okay, so on closer inspection, it's an aluminium frame. I can see the wells down there, and this wheel set does look relatively budget focused. We got J-bend spokes, and is this, it is carbon, I think. But yeah, this one is slightly more interesting right here. So it looks like a kind of a gravel, maybe a commuter frame, but it is carbon, and it's got a Shimano GRX group set as well. Okay, so $2,850 for this bike. Not incredibly cheap, it has to be said. And yeah, some of the components do look quite basic. Like I said, we've got some J-bend spokes in there, but it does come with a Shimano GRX group set. I had no idea the kind of range of products they offer. I've just spotted this as well, like an electric e-bike from RockBros. Yeah, it looks pretty mean, although yeah, mechanical disc brakes. I have tried these, they are pretty decent, but yeah, interesting. That's more expensive than I thought it would be. But yeah, RockBros, who knew that their range of products was so vast? Although I have just spotted these integrated handlebars have that kind of grub screw attachment that I showed at the Far Sports booth yesterday on their really premium F1 Ultimate handlebar. So maybe the components on this are a little more premium than I gave it credit for. I've just seen this kid's bike with mechanical disc brakes. So if you're a toddler looking to absolutely rip on the bike, yeah, they've got you covered. Right, I've just popped over to the Ridenow booth. And again, a bit like RockBros, they offer a few more things than you might initially realize. So I've known them, and probably you do as well, for their TPU inner tubes, right? So yeah, I think so many of you will have these and have bought these. I've recommended them myself, but they've also got these. So they've got these titanium thru axles, which is really cool. They've got a set on a pair of scales here. So rear and the front together, 24.4 grams, pretty lightweight, yeah, premium gear. So retail on these is gonna be $220. There's a couple of different versions that they've got at the moment, but they're super new, so they'll be releasing different variants as you go. And I've been told as well, if you're a supplier or you want a specific design, get in touch and they'll make one. But again, yeah, clearly branching out, trying to experiment with some new products. I saw a pair of shoes back there as well, so yeah, interesting stuff. So I've just popped into the CRW booth, that stands for Craft Racing Works. They make some absolutely incredible wheels. I'm interested in their 50/60 variant. Yeah, these things are sick. So 50 mil deep on the front, 60 mil deep on the rear, which is a kind of relatively common pattern that you see with a couple of wheel set manufacturers. But an interesting kind of variant on that here is that the inner diameter of the front is 25 mils on the inner, which is pretty bonkers, and then 24 on the rear. So it's all wind tunnel tested, and the idea behind it is that a slightly fatter wheel on the front is kind of better for aero characteristics. On the rear, it doesn't necessarily matter because the yaw angles don't change that much, but when you're steering the front wheel, a larger kind of frontal area can be beneficial in this regard, hence the reason they've gone slightly wider, 25 rather than 24 on the front. So the weight on these is impressive. It's just 1,250 grams for the pair. I'm thinking back to the Elite wheel stand, their Drive 50D wheels. They were 1,300 grams for the pair, and they're both 50 mil deep. This is a 50/60, and the width is bonkers on the front as well, like 25 internal. So the weight is equally impressive in my opinion. Now the cost is quite high, $1,680 for the pair, but I mean, considering the weight, and it's kind of a specialty mold in a way, no other brand is really doing this, it's not too savage in my opinion. Now, one other kind of tidbit of information, I suppose, interestingly, they recommend 28C tires for both of those wheels. I would have thought 30C would have been optimal, but yeah, according to their testing, 28C tires, front and rear. So yeah, interesting to check out, and those wheels, genuinely really lovely, but let's crack on. Okay, so I'm in this hall, and they've got these massive brands selling all range of bikes. And I've mentioned many times, this is a kind of B2B show, right? So it's difficult for them to give you the individual price of the bikes because they expect you to have a minimum order quantity, right? So I was chatting to these guys at LAUX Bikes, and I think I managed to kind of get some idea of the insane value these guys offer. So I was asking about this bike here. You can see the brand name LAUX, low. Yeah, so this is, yeah, a pretty nice looking race machine. Unfortunately, they couldn't give me the weight, but we've got deep section carbon rims, nice racy geometry, and it's got DuraAce Di2 group set. Now, the price per unit she gave me was $2,235. Now, I obviously inquired as to like the minimum order quantity I'd need to get to ensure that price. If it's like 1,000 units, that's a bit ridiculous. But to secure that price from them, apparently you only need to buy 30 units. And I did some kind of quick math here. So an average bike shop, I think you'd be looking about a 40% markup for retail. So you buy it in, slap on 40% for costs and everything, and that's what you'll sell to kind of me and you, the consumer, at. At $2,235, a 40% markup is $3,129 for a full bike like this, including a DuraAce Di2 group set. So to give you a bit of a reference point, if I was to buy that very group set from Sigma Sports in the UK, it would cost me 2,300 quid, which is about $3,100. That whole bike, including deep section wheels, and it's a nice looking frame and everything, yeah, including the 40% dealer markup, was $3,129. So yeah, just nuts really. Now, you obviously won't be able to secure that price as an individual like B2C customer, and if you were then to kind of sort out import duties and stuff on a total bike from China into the UK or anywhere in Europe, costs would increase dramatically. But yeah, that should give you some idea of the incredible value that some of these brands will offer. Okay, right, again, just kind of stumbled across this stand. Rockwolf, it's not a name I'm super familiar with. I've heard of Airwolf before. They do some cheap frames on AliExpress and the like, but yeah, Rockwolf is new to me. Fortunately, I was asking, they do some B2C sales, so you can buy an individual frame from these guys as a consumer, and the prices are pretty compelling. I was interested in this Cirrus bike they've got on the stand because, yeah, looks really lovely, and they've got this kind of shroud at the front, kind of reminiscent of the Colnago Y1 RS. So yeah, I was really interested in this. Apparently it's only just kind of been made, kind of unveiling it at the show. So they don't have a solid price for this yet, but the guy quoted me around $850 for this frame set. So I think I'm gonna have to explore this brand. The quality looks decent. Obviously you got no idea until you get it in your hands and ride it. But yeah, this is probably one to explore, that's for sure. So yeah, it was a very brief chat. I'm kind of running out of time for the day, to be honest with you. But there's a turquoise bike on the stand called their Leo frame. It looks really lovely. Unfortunately, they couldn't give me the weight of the actual frame, but the cost price for an individual frame from this company, well, that Leo, it was $700. I assume shipping on top will be additional, and I'm not sure if there'll be any kind of tariffs levied on that or whatever, but apparently they sell globally. So yeah, I might have to check these guys out because those frame prices, yeah, pretty tasty. Right, I think that's gonna wrap it up for day 3. Really interesting one today, just to kind of get an insight onto those dealer prices. What was it, LAU? That LAU bike? Yeah, just unreal. That Di2 group set in the UK, what was the equivalent? $3,100? And that whole bike, including dealer markup, was what, 3,129? Yeah, just unreal. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Once again, huge thank you to Joe and the Panda Podium team. I know I keep saying it, but they are legitimately just, they've been so helpful. They're so lovely. So yeah, I'm gonna head on back to the Panda Podium booth now, start on the upload and all that. And thanks again for joining me, and yeah, see you later.